Ladles and jelly spoons, welcome back to Badgerworks. Today, this. Yes, we're back on the bus again. Today we are going to build a little diorama for this. So, let's get on with it. So yes, we're going to build a diorama for yon bus, and we're going to build it on one of these. Oh God, if I can get that under the camera. This is one of the Master Tools display cases. Suitable for 1/24th vehicle and 1/48th military, or in our case 1/72nd scale. So this is the Trumpeter brand. They do a whole range of them, but I get a load of these. I buy these, I keep an eye on them, and sometimes they come up on sale in places, and if they do, then I buy a couple of them. So this should be quite handy. Let's just get this out of the box. Oh, they come quite well wrapped. I'll give them that. Although I had a, it's kind of funny. I had a situation once where I bought 2 or 3 of these from a vendor, I think on eBay, and when they arrived, they were cracked. They had a crack, it had a big crack in the corner. I think this one actually has a crack in the corner. Let's get this. Get rid of that. Get rid of that. Yeah. That's annoying. It's got a crack in the corner there, but we won't worry about that. That's all right. So yes, we'll just pop this lid off. Oh God, actually it's cracked in that corner as well. It's cracked on both corners. Oh well, never mind. There we go. Get off. Right. We'll put this back in the box so that it doesn't get damaged any further. So yes, we're going to use this. So let's get our bus back in. I'll just take the top off for now because it'll make it a little bit easier to handle. And we'll pop this kind of like that, you see. Yeah, I think that will work quite nicely. So I've been looking at reference pictures. I'll try and remember to put them up on the screen so you can see what I've been looking at. But there's one I quite like the look of. And it basically looks like the bus has been parked up for quite some time because there's actually grass growing underneath it. And also there's some like tracks leading around it where the grass has worn away, where obviously people have been walking back and forth for some time. And I like the look of that. So we're going to kind of try and replicate that. So that's the basic plan. So what we're going to do to start with, put the bus very carefully to one side. I'm going to mask off these channels around the edge because I don't want them getting stuff in them. So I'm just going to use some masking tape. And what we'll do is we'll just put this down kind of like that. I'll just trim the end off. And we want to get it like kind of on the edge. So we've got maximum surface to work with, but at the same time we don't get anything going into that little channel. So like that, you see. So I'll mask all these sides off and we'll go on from there. Right, there we go for that. So what we're going to do now is we're going to put down a bit of a substrate just to give us something to build off of. And for that, I'm going to use this. This is Dial Ready Mix Filler. This came from, I think it's Homebase. Not Homebase, B&Q. Homebase doesn't exist anymore. This is their like own brand. This is quite old. You see the date on this is 2018. So yeah. When I took the lid off earlier, I didn't realise how old this was, and I thought it had gone off, but it had kind of gone a bit gloopy. It had kind of gone like clay, but I put a bit of water in it and I've actually managed to bring it back around, which is nice. So although the water has started to settle out to the surface again, because this is what happens with these, is the water kind of comes to the surface and then evaporates off, which in a way is good because it keeps it from going off too quickly, but it also means that it tends to go a bit claggy, if you'll pardon the term. So what I did basically was I poured some water in here and I just left it for an hour, and that kind of brought it back to life. And then I just mixed it up with the palette knife, and it's seems to be coming back quite nicely. So what we're going to do is we're going to take some of this and we're going to dump it on here. It's not ideal, but it will do for our purposes. And then we're going to spread it out with said palette knife. It's got a few lumpy bits in it, but that's all right. We can just mash those down. So we'll just get this spread in a nice, fairly even coat all over this, he says, as he jams the knife into it. And I probably should have just gone and bought a new tub of it, but I didn't really want to do that. And I say this will do for our purposes. So we don't need it too thick. We just need to kind of get it a nice thin coat across the base, just to give us a bit of texture more than anything. And I want to try and avoid getting too close to the edges. I want to get it like near the tape, but not over the tape. Right, I think that will do us. So this is obviously going to take a while to dry because it's very wet, which is why I did this first. But what I'll do is I'll just work at this a little bit more, get it where I want it, and then we'll just leave this to dry. And then we'll move on to some of the other components, because there's some stuff we can do while we're waiting for this to dry, which I think you're going to find quite amusing. Right, while we're waiting for that filler to dry, we're going to do a bit of figure painting, which, as we all know, is not my speciality. We'll give it a go. So I've got a few figures I'm going to put on here. I'm just going to paint one of them just to show you for now. But these are 3D printed, and they came from Colts. This guy called I think Alphonse Marcel, something like that. I'll try and remember to put a link in the thing. But it's quite a nice little set, because you get 59 different models. And he's done I say he, I'm assuming it's a guy. He's done a bunch of different armies from the First World War, like French, German, British, and so on. And they're lovely little sets. They're actually like 1/48 scale, or like 28mm scale. So what I've done is I just basically reduced them by 50% to make them 1/72 scale, or roughly 1/72 scale. You've seen me use these before. I used some on the Whippet, I think. Yeah, the Whippet tank model. So they're nice little figures, and they're very, very well detailed, even at this scale. So I shall attempt to paint them. So we're going to start off. I've got my little wet palette here. I'm keeping it out of the view of the camera, because otherwise the camera likes to try and focus on it for some reason. But there you go. So we're going to start off with this olive drab XF62, and we're just going to do it all with a brush. And speaking of brushes, we're going to use the one of the Humbrol brushes that they give you with the starter kits. They're quite good for doing like big areas on these things. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some of this paint in the wet palette, and then we'll put it on from there. Because the trouble is, this Tamiya paint, it's not really ideal for brush painting. It tends to dry out very quickly, but we'll see how we get on with it. Where are my glasses? Can't see what I'm doing at the best of times. Right. I'll try and keep this under the camera and in focus, but we'll see how it goes. So I've just basically just thinned this out in the wet palette with a little touch of water, just to make it flow a little easier. I'll say we'll start by just giving all of his uniform a coat of this olive drab. I mean, I think technically I should be using khaki drab, but I thought I had a pot of it somewhere, but I can't find it. So this is close enough. This this Humbrol brush does not keep a point very well. But to be fair, it's been abused. It's been used for all kinds of different things. But it will do for what we're doing. So figure painting is not my speciality, and especially not at this scale. But I don't think that looks too bad to start with. There we go, it's right now. Right, we'll dry this off with a hairdryer and move on to the next bit. Right, so now we'll do his face and his hands, and we're going to use this Vallejo flesh base. Okay, let's see how well this goes. Oh dear. Do you know what? I see people doing the most amazing things with figures at this scale, and I have no idea how they do it. I really don't know how they do it. You know, you see people and they paint on, you know, they've got like the eyes and everything like that, and I'm just like, how do you paint something so tiny? I don't get it. But, you know, it is what it is. We do our best with the skills that we have. Which in my case is not much. Right, I need to switch to a smaller brush. Right, let's try this one. This is one, this was actually a gift from one of my patrons. Thank you, Ian. So we'll give this one a try and see what it's like. That's a much finer point. That should do us a little bit better. I want to get him around the back of his neck and that's the thing. There we go, that's more like it. So when you look at what some of these figure painters do, it's absolutely amazing. I have neither the eyesight nor the the patience. I think that'll do us. There we go. Whew. Right. Let's do his hair. Right, for his hair and moustache, we're going to use this Revel Aquacolor Ochre Brown. See what this looks like. Right. Oh, a little errant bristle there that we don't want. tell you what, I hope you guys can see what's going on, because I can't. Right. Now, the really fun bit is trying to do his moustache. Because that is a fine moustache. There we go. Oh, I think that went marvellously, actually. Yeah, that looks fine, doesn't it? Right, and next we'll do his boots and his belt and everything. Right, for his boots and everything, we're going to use this, again, it's a Revel Aqua colour. This is leather brown. Right, let's start with his holster. Right, now let's try and get his belt. And his binocular case. Right, let's try and get around the back of his belt. Oh dear. That went better than expected. Right, and let's try and get his Sam Brown. There we go, it doesn't look too bad. And right, let's see if we can do his boots as well. I think I'll use the bigger brush for that. I just realised I missed part of his trousers, but I need to go back over it again anyway, so we can catch up with any bits that we've missed. Right, there we go. That looks all right, doesn't it? Right, we'll let that dry and then we'll do some detail. Detail, like it's not detailed enough already. Anyway. Right, this is where the fun really starts. I've just mixed in a tiny little drop of deck tan with the olive drab, and I'm going to use that to try and highlight his uniform. This is going to be hilarious. So I just want to kind of hit the high, but this is a very, very thin mix of paint, by the way. And you won't really notice it when it goes on. It's when it dries and it will lighten up. Or at least that's the idea. Right. There we go. I think that looks rather good. So what we're going to do, one final step. Let me just wash this brush out, hang on. So what I've got here is an ink wash that I made some time ago. I did a video on these. I'll try and remember to put a link to it. But it's basically like a homemade version of this Reichland Flesh shade. So we're going to put some of this on and use it to create some detail, like on his face and his hand. It'll also darken his hair slightly. All right, there we go. And I think that will do us. So I've got a few other figures to paint as well, so I'll get on and get those done. And there's something else I want to do as well, so we'll move on to those next. Right, for my next trick, at the moment you've all been waiting for, pigeons. These are just a few. I have been printing pigeons till I'm blue in the face. I don't know why, but for some reason my printer did not want to print these pigeons. So I've managed to get some out. I've got quite a few, but not nearly as many as I had hoped for. But I think these are going to do the job, because if we look at the ones that came with the kit, hang on. So these are the pigeons that they give you with the kit. And as you can see, they're not really, these are much more detailed and pigeony than these, which are basically just little hooks of plastic, basically. So yes, we're gonna go with these ones. Again, I'll put a link to where I got them if I can remember. I did actually pay for these pigeons, which is why I was so determined to use them, because after spending some money on the STLs, I was like, well, I'm printing these pigeons no matter what. But I think this is, I don't know what it is with my printer. I have a Mars Pro, the Elegoo Mars Pro, as you've seen before. And it's getting a bit long in the tooth now. I mean, it's a first generation, well, not first generation, but it's the first generation Elegoo printer. But it's old. We might have to see about upgrading it at some point, but we'll see. Anyway, that's beside the point. So what we've got to try and do now is paint pigeons. So what I've done is I gave them a coat of, where is it? Our High Coat grey lacquer. Not a sponsor, but, you know, as ever, if anyone from High Coat is watching. And then I gave them a little mist over with High Coat white primer. Just kind of like some zenithal highlighting. So that gives us basically the base colour for the pigeons. I think that's suitably pigeony enough for our purposes. So I've been looking at some pictures, and there's so many different types of pigeon. I never realised. They're just rats with wings as far as I'm concerned, but apparently there's a lot of different types of pigeons. So the main thing with these, like the most common type is it's called a rock pigeon or a rock dove. And they have a black stripe on their back, and their heads are kind of they're kind of a shimmery greeny purple colour. Not quite sure I'm going to do that yet. And then when they're in flight, their flight feathers are basically edged in black. So I think what I'm going to do is I'll try and do a couple of them on camera just to show you roughly what I'm going to do. And then I'll do the rest off camera, because I'm going to be hours painting these things. So let's find some black paint. Should we have a laugh and use this one? This is one of the Umbral starter ones. This might need a mix. Oh, yeah, that's definitely going to need a mix. Right. Let's use this, that should do. Because this is quite gloopy, but I have been reliably informed that this thins very well with water. So what we'll do is we'll put some of this on our wet palette and thin it out and see how well that works. Right. We'll use our little thin brush again. Thank you, Ian. Right. Let's see how well this works. Right. So let's start with this one here. And we'll just go around the back of its wings like that. And then around the back of its tail. Yeah, I think that doesn't look too bad, does it? And then we'll try one of these ones over here. Might need to thin that paint down a bit more, actually. And we'll just do a little stripe like that across its body. And we'll do the same with this one. Like that. That doesn't look too bad, does it? I'm hoping the camera is showing you like the detail on these, because it's amazing. Again, these are like 1/48 scale that I reduced in by half to make them the right scale. And I think they've come out really well. They were very difficult to print, but I think they've come out really well, the ones that have come out. Yeah, they look all right, don't they? Right, let's see what we can do colour-wise for their heads. Because their heads are kind of almost like a metallic blue-grey. And I'm trying to think what to use to do that, because I do have a metallic purple, but I think that might be too purple. But I'm just wondering if I really, really thin it down and do it almost like a wash. Should we try that? Let's try that and see what that does. Where is it? There it is. This might be better, actually. Let's try this. This is a Humbrol acrylic. I don't know where I got this from, to be honest. I have no idea where this came from. But it's a nice colour purple, and I'm thinking if I really, really thin that down, that might work. Let's try that. I don't know how you get the lid off this thing. Brute force and ignorance, I should imagine. Yep. Oh dear, that's not been opened in a very long time. Yeah. Yeah, I think that might work. So what I'll do is I'll just put a little drop of this in the palette, wet palette. Only a little touch. And we'll thin it right down with some water. And we'll see what that does. Oh God, now the label's coming off. I have no idea how old this bottle is, but it looks pretty ancient. Okay, so we need some water. Right, glasses. So I've got a vague attempt to see what I'm doing. Right, let's see what this does. Oh yeah, that's, oh, I like that. Oh, I do like that. Look at that. I hope the camera's picking it up. It's just, it's got this really sort of subtle purple tint. Yeah, that's really good. I like that. Yep, that will do a treat. Very nice. Yeah, this has come out fine. I like that a lot. Right, we might as well do these last couple while we're here. Yeah, it's kind of going on like a wash and just tinting the paint, which is absolutely spot on, because I didn't want it too, you know, too vivid. But yeah, they look a treat, don't they? Wonderful stuff. Right, so that's 6 down and about another 100 to go. So I'll get the rest of these figures painted, I'll get the rest of the pigeons painted, and then hopefully by that point the filler will have dried. We'll see. Oh, this is going to take forever. Right, so our figures are all drying. So we're just turning our attention back to this. This is kind of a little bit time sensitive, because basically this is now mostly dry, but not completely dry. And what we're going to do is, I've got a little pot of water here, and I'm just going to dip my finger in it, and I'm just going to just very lightly go over the surface, just to get rid of any egregiously rough spots, and just smooth it out a little bit. Just like this. And that will basically give us a good starting point for getting this thing looking a bit more realistic. There's a couple of bits where it's still a bit wet, but that's all right, because we're going to be covering a lot of this up with foliage and things anyway, or grass if nothing else. But I especially want to smooth this off in the middle, because that's where the bus is going to go. Alright, I think that will do us. And what I want to do now is I'm going to take the bus and I'm going to put it roughly where I want it to be, which is about there. And I'm just going to gently push it down into the plaster, just to make some divots, and that you probably won't be able to see them. I can barely see them myself, but I just want to make some divots where the wheels are, so I know where the bus is going to be with it not being on here, if that makes sense. So yeah, so that way I can put this back in exactly the same place. So I just gently work that in like that. And the other thing you can do if you want is just take something like this and just make a little mark where each wheel is. If the marks are not visible enough, And that's the thing with this, the back wheel marks are nice and visible, but the front ones are not so much. So I'll just make a little mark like that, and that way I know where the wheels are going to be. And there you go. We'll take this off again, and we will leave that to dry completely. Yeah, that's good enough. Yes, we'll leave this dry completely, then we'll put some paint on it. Right, this base is dry now, so we'll turn our attention back to that. And I'm going to put some paint on it. And I'm going to start with a mix of yellow ochre and burnt umber. So primarily the yellow ochre with a little drop of burnt umber in it. I want to see what that looks like. I might lighten it up a bit, but we'll see, we'll see. So I've got a little old dessert pot here. I'll just, that's way too much, get off. Right, a little dab of that. And a slightly bigger dab of this. Oh. And we'll mix it up with a coffee stirrer. Might put a little drop of water in this, just to thin it out a bit. The trouble is it's so cold in this workshop. All the paint's like glue. So I quite like that colour, but it's a bit, it might be a touch on the dark side. I might put a little drop of something else in it. Hang on. Right, I'm going to put a little drop of this in. This is a buff titanium. So it's kind of like an off-white. Oh, if I get the lid off. Oh, blimey. Right, just put a little bit of that in. That should be more than enough. Yeah, I think that might do. Right, let's put a little splash of water in it. Way too much. Get this mixed up. What you have to remember as well is it will look lighter because the surface we're painting on is white. So I think that will do. Right, let's put these to one side for a minute. And let's get a suitable brush. Right, we'll choose a 1/2 inch flat brush and we'll paint this on. I'm just wondering if there's actually enough paint in there. There should be enough, surely. All right. That's still quite thick. I'm going to put a touch more water in it. Ooh, easy. Steady now. Yeah, let's put a touch more water in that. Ooh, there we go. Right, I'll get a coat of this on and we'll see what it looks like. fun bit's going to be getting around the edges, but that's why I'm putting it on with a brush and not like spraying it on, because I don't want to get paint everywhere. Right, so this paint is now dry, more or less. It's a bit blotchy, but that's all right because we're going to be covering it up anyway. So what we want to do is we're going to put some static grass on, and I've got a couple of different ones here. So looking at the reference picture, the kind of one that I like the most, it looks like the vehicle's been parked for quite a while and the grass has kind of grown up around it. So we're going to use some longer grass like under where the vehicle is, and then shorter grass around the rest of it. So I've got some Mod Podge mat here. I've got 2 bottles. I've got a small bottle and I have a large bottle. The large bottle we'll come to in a minute. So I'm just going to put some of this on a bit of card. And what we're going to do is we're going to use a little brush to start with, because we want to do this in a bit more of a controlled fashion. And we're going to kind of blot this. And we've got to be fairly quick because this glue dries pretty fast. But we're just going to put some around where the vehicle actually is. And we don't have to be too precious about it. In fact, the more haphazard, the better. Like that. Right, now put that to one side for a second. That brush is probably going to end up ruined, but that's fine. We've got millions of them. So I've got my static grass applicator here. This is one that I made myself. I haven't used it for a very long time. I'm hoping it still works. I haven't actually tested it, so it's entirely possible it might not even work, but we'll see. Right, and we'll put some of this in here. So this is 4mm, so this is a bit longer. So we'll just pop a load of that in there. I've just got most of it on the thing, but that's all right. I'm doing this in this little plastic tray here. This came from the works. You can buy them in a pack of 3, I think. They're called craft trays. Now, this is where I try and do this without electrocuting myself. So we've got this plugged in, and turn that on. Right, why is that not doing anything? Oh, there we go. Plug wasn't in properly. And what we're going to do is just give that a good shake. And we want to get plenty of this on. And it's sticking to everything, the thing, the board, my hands, everywhere, and that's fine. But most of it's going in the tray, which is kind of what we wanted. Right, that'll do. Put that to one side for a second. Oh dear. Now, if we take this and tap this off, we have a nice patch of fairly long grass. And also now we can take the, oh my dear, the static. This is the trouble with this, is it just, you can see the patterns. But we'll just put that back in the pot as best we can. Like that. And then we'll pop this back in here. And then one of the things that I noticed in the picture, that there's a lot of like bare patches around the vehicle where, like, obviously people have been walking and whatnot. So we're just going to put a couple of little drops of glue here and there just to give us a little couple of patches. But we want to leave a sort of a bare patch here. So we're just going to kind of outline it a little bit like that. And we'll go round the vehicle. And like I say, the trouble is you've got to be quick doing this because it tends to this glue dries fast. So that'll do for that. And now what we're going to do is take this big pot and I'm going to pour some of it Whoop, that's way too much. Perfect. Into a little pot. And this is basically so I don't fill this up with static grass. Right. And now we're going to use a bigger brush so we can really have at it. And we're going to put this on. And we're going to basically cover. We might have to do this in stages, but we'll see. So I want to get right up to the edge, or as close to the edge as I can. Right, I'm going to put this to one side. And what we have here is some 2mm meadow grass. So we need to empty out this pot. It doesn't matter if some of it stays in there. If we get a little bit mixed in, that's fine. It actually helps. I'll just tip that back in there. Now, oh, as you can see, it's kind of awkward trying to do this with the camera in front of me. So we're going to put some of this 2mm in here. We need quite a lot of this. This is why I made this big one, because it's good for doing like big areas like this quickly. Oh, try not to get it all over me. And we'll put a little bit of the 4mm in as well and just kind of mix it in. Oh, right, now let's put that over there out of the way for a second and have at it. And again, we want to get this on fairly hefty. We want a really good coat of this. There we go, I'm covered in it. Right, let's shut that off. Put that over there. Oh, God. Covered in this stuff. And then I'll just do the same again, just turn this over, give it a little tap, just to get the loose off. And there we go, you see. And then what we can do is, this has actually come out pretty well. It's not all sticking straight up, but what you can do is just take your finger and just give it a little tap. And that just kind of stops having every blade of grass sticking straight up. Just kind of moosh it around a little bit just to make it look a bit more natural. Like that, you see. And I think what we'll do is we might just put a little bit more on here and there, because you can see some patches where the glue dried. So we'll just do a little couple of dots here and there. It's just like to create little patches of grass. Like that. Right, get this back in. There we go. God, it's just there, like that, you see. So we'll leave that to dry, and I'll try and clean up this mess. Look at it, it's all stuck to the back, it's everywhere. This is the trouble with static grass. It's great stuff, but it just goes everywhere. But anyway, there you go. We'll let that dry, and then we'll go on from there. Right, this is dry enough for our purposes now. I'm just getting rid of some of this loose stuff off still, because, you know, static. But that'll do for now. So we're going to put a couple of other bits on here. So what I've got here in this tub, this is Woodland Scenics. Oh, this is blended turf. So this is like a flock. And what we're going to do is we're just going to scatter some of this around, especially around here, because it's got these little yellow bits in that look like flowers. So we're just going to scatter some of this around. And what this does is just basically makes the grass a little less uniform, as you can see. Don't need a lot. Although you can, if you want, you know, you can go heavy in areas if you want to, make it look like, you know, clumps of moss or, you know, clover or whatever plant things. And so we just want to make sure we get plenty of it in the middle there, like that. And what we've also got, let me just get this out of the way. Now this is the real magic. This is Woodland Scenics burnt grass, and this stuff is an absolute miracle, because what it does, and I don't know how it does, why it does it, but it just blends everything together. It's crazy how well this works. But you can put whatever finishes you want on you know, like flocks and this and that and bits and pieces and whatever else, and this will just blend it all together. It's absolutely nuts. Right, just a little bit like that. Give that a little tap just to get it to settle a bit. There we go, like that, you see. Right, one more thing. Right, this is Schwartz mixed herbs. These are the big tubs you can get from like Costco and places like that. And, oh God, that smells good. These are really old. You can probably see in there, they've kind of gone, well, they've gone off, not gone off, but, you know, they've dried out. But doesn't that look like leaf litter? This is actually a bit overscale for this, but what we can do, and again, because this is so dry now, you can literally just crumble it in your fingers like that and just kind of make it a little bit more sort of size appropriate or scale appropriate. You can also put this in a blender or something and just blitz it for a second, or if you've got a spice grinder, that works as well. My son got a spice grinder for Christmas. That was the one thing he wanted for Christmas was a spice grinder. So we got him one, and it's kind of funny because every time I look at it, I think that'd be great for like mulching up terrain stuff. But I'm not going to use his spice grinder for that. But anyway, there we go. So that's that. And now to lock it all together, this is in this. Oh God, if I can get the lid off. Oh God, there's a lid glued itself on. Oh, hang on a minute. Oh, right. There we go. Just put a big pair of pump pliers on it. That got the lid off. This has not been open for a very long time. But this is, as I say, scenery glue. You've seen me use this before. I've got a video on how to make this stuff. But what we're going to do is we're just going to basically just use that to fix everything in place. You can spray it on, but I find if you spray it on, it just goes everywhere. This takes a bit longer, but it's a bit more precise. So we just use this to fix down all of our little bits that we just put on, all the flocking and everything. And that will hold everything in place. Like that, you see. So I'll get this all nicely soaked in, and then we'll let it dry and we'll see what it looks like. Right, so while we're waiting for that base to dry, which won't take long, I need to try and get these pigeons off of the off of here basically, which is going to be hilarious. So I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to use this razor saw, because what I don't want to do is break their legs off, because the trouble is with this resin is it can be a bit brittle once it's cured. So I'll tell you what I'm going to do. Let's just get a pair of clippers, and we'll just, I did trim off some of the supports, but not enough possibly. Just get rid of that. And see, what we don't want to do is that. Damn it. Well, there's one for the floor monster. Never mind. Right, I think what I'll do is I'll just put my finger on it, so if it does twang, it won't. There we go. Right. Good grief. So this saw has like a coarse side and a fine side. You can barely even see the teeth on this side. But what I'll do is I'll just try and cut this. Just very gently. Yeah, that's working. This is going to take forever getting all these off of here. Just got to very gingerly cut them like that. There we go. And then I'll take a little bit of sandpaper and just try and very, very gingerly sand these feet without snapping them off. Just got to really take your time. And just, I'm barely touching it with the sandpaper just to flatten it off. Like that. So there we go, there's one pigeon. And I will get on and do the many, many other pigeons. This is going to take forever. Anyway, it's got to be done. Right, I'll get on and do the rest. Right, it is time to attach some pigeons. This is going to be hilarious. So I've got some super glue gel here, and I'm just going to squeeze some out onto a little thing. Right, now okay, let's get a pigeon. I've got my pigeons in a little pot here. Not that one. Alright, come here you. I'll just put one on to show you, and then I'll do the rest of them off camera because this is going to take forever. Oh, it's all dusty. Right, so now I think I'm just wondering whether it's easier to put the glue on the thing or on the pigeon. I think it might be easier to put it on the thing. I just want the tiniest little bit of glue because I don't want it to splooge out everywhere. I'll put one right in the middle there. Alright, that should be enough. And then we place yon pigeon like that. There you go. What was hard about that? One down, many, many more to go. Right, okay. Let's see if we can do another one. I'll do another one just for the lols. You see, the funny thing of it is, it's like this set of pigeons that I bought, and I'll try and remember to put a link in the description in case anybody wants to do their own. But the funny thing is with it is it's like there's only like 6 or 7 different poses, but then it's like, how many different poses can you have for pigeons, you know? We'll put one here. Like that. Oh. There we go. Like that. So, whew, I'll get the rest of these put on, and then we'll see what it looks like. Right, now for the really fun bit. So what I've got here is a piece of 0.5mm fibre optic cable. I wish I had some thinner, but I don't. This is the thinnest I've got because I want to put some of these flying birds on, at least 1 or 2. So let's snag that one. And that one. And what we're going to do is we're going to take a little piece of this fibre optic, and this is going to be hilarious. Let's see if this even works. Now there's one bit, and we'll have another bit like that. I'll put that bit to one side, and this is UV resin. I've got a ton of this stuff that I use for the 3D printer, but this is just a smaller bottle. It's a bit easier to deal with. So I'm just going to tip a little bit out. Like that, just Just a little blob of it. Put the lid back on quickly because we do not want this stuff curing. Now, is this going to work is the question. So we'll turn yon pigeon over and we'll dip that in the resin, get a little blob on the end of it, and I've got a UV light here, and right, that's got that. So that's the first step. Now for the really fun bit is we need to get this attached. This is the thing where I need like 16 hands. No, those pliers, those are not going to be the best tweezers for that. We need a different pair. Hang on. These ones might be better. Right, now dip that in the resin. Get the light. And then what we'll do is we'll pop that there like that. There we go. A flying pigeon. I think that might be a bit. I'm going to put another one on, but I'm going to cut this down a bit because I want it a little bit lower because that's up a bit high. Although I suppose I could put one like down here somewhere. Right. Let's put that on there, get the bird. Oh, come on, turn over. On your back, go on. In case you're wondering about this, this is one of the props that I made before. The company that I made it for have asked for an ultraviolet one, so which is going to be delivered in the very near future. But I thought, well, while I've got it here, I'll use it for this. I do have a UV torch, but it's Katie's using it at the moment. She uses a lot of this UV resin. And I can't be bothered to go in the house and get it, quite frankly. So, and seeing as this is a perfectly functional source of UV light, I shall use this. It's a little bit awkward because it's the size of it, but it's all right. There we go. Well, that looks all right, doesn't it? Flying pigeons. Who'd have thunk it? Right, so I think what we can do now is turn our attention back to the base and get this thing, well, somewhere near finished, hopefully. Right, so we've got the base back in, and I'm going to put some pigment on it. This is stuff from MIG. This is Gulf War sand. Not that I just wanted something basically vaguely dusty, because I just want to basically get this looking a bit less like painted plaster, if that makes sense. So let me find a suitable brush. This brush might do. And what we're going to do is just get a little bit on here and just dob that in there like that, just to give it a bit of a dusty look. Like that. And we'll just go all the way around this bit of track, whatever you want to call it. Like that. And that gives it a nice dusty appearance and makes it look a bit less like flat and painted. So it looks like it's been walked over many, many times. Sometimes this stuff kind of clumps up a little bit, and if it does, then all you do is just, you can probably see what I'm doing here, is just kind of tap it down with the tip of the brush, and that just breaks up any little clumps. Like that. And then what we can do is, I'll just do it over here so it doesn't go everywhere. Just huff on it, and it just gets rid of any loose stuff. And you can just work this around as much as you want to get it how you want it. Like that. So, but you can see the difference. Like this looks a lot more, well, dusty, which is kind of what I want. So I'll put the rest of this on. And then we'll put the bus on. There we go. So give that another quick blow off. And I think that looks rather good, doesn't it? So now we're going to get our bus back in. And that goes kind of like that. Now, I'll put some pigeons on the bus as well, by the way, just because it seemed appropriate. Now, we need to get this bus kind of settled down into the grass, because what we don't want it to do is just sit on top. Oh, come on. There we go, like that. Right, now, I need some glue. Where did I put that? Oh, it's over there, hang on. Right, a little bit of Mod Podge matte just to stick this down. Let's close that for a minute before I knock it over and it goes everywhere. So I'll just put some on a little bit of cardboard. Turn this over. And this is where we have to be a little bit quick, because otherwise this is going to drip everywhere. And we'll just put some glue on the underside of each wheel. Like that. And then we pop that back into place like that. Oh, come on. I had you right where I wanted you a minute ago. Now you've gone all over the place. That's it. There we go, like that. Wonderful stuff. Now we get our pigment again and our brush, and we apply some pigment to yon bus. just need to be a little bit careful with this, because obviously that glue's not dry yet, but what we'll do is we'll put it on like this, and then you can basically control it with the brush how much you want everywhere. So we'll get some on the wheels. It's kind of funny because everyone does, you know, the whole thing with the First World War is everybody thinks of like mud. And yes, there was a lot of mud, but there was also a lot of times when it was just dust. You know, when it was in the summer and whatnot, you'd have a lot of dust kicking around the place. Makes you wonder which one is quite worse, but still. We'll just get a little bit over all of the surfaces, because basically what we want to do is make this look dusty. And then if you've got too much like that, you can just give it a quick huff to get rid of it, and then carry on. But I'll carry on putting this on, and then once we're done with this, we can start thinking about adding the figures. Right. I just realised actually I made a complete dog's dinner of this, because if you look what I've done, and I'm sure some of you already pointed it out, I did it around the wheels, the path, when it should have gone right round the back of the vehicle, but it's all right, it doesn't matter. Just idiot. Anyway, so the last thing we're going to do is we've got some figures to put on, so I'm going to try and glue these on. Not quite sure how, but I think super glue might be the answer. So we'll get our... This actually came from the pound shop. And it's really good. I've been pleasantly surprised with this. I mean, this tube, because you know what super glue's like, it's usually the case that you use it and then you take one little blob out the tube and then the rest of it just dries up. But these ones actually don't. So, you know, hats off to Loctite. They've actually done a good job on that. Anyway, right, so we have... I'm just trying to figure out where to put these guys. Let's see. So we've got this guy with his binoculars. And we've got this guy who is pointing at something. Like that. And then we've got this guy who's smoking his pipe. Kind of tempted to put him back there, but no. Right, okay, I think that will work. So, this is going to be great fun. So let's get some glue on his boots. That is way, way too much. Right, and now try not to get it all over my fingers. And we will pop you there, like that. Stay. Oh, I think he's going to stay, look at that. And now this chap, we're going to put like that. I want them all kind of looking in the same direction. So let's get some glue on his feet. Like that. you can go there, like that, and then this guy I'll have here, pointing, because that's what he does. They don't call him Carruthers Carmichael Pointer for nothing. In fact, they probably don't call him that at all, but still. So you go right there. Stay. Oh, right. So what I'm going to do is I'll leave that for that glue to set up. And then I'll just put a little bit more of the pigment just around their feet, just to kind of blend their feet into the ground, make their boots look dusty. And then I think we can wrap this thing up. And here is our finished article. I'm very pleased with how this came out, actually. I think we've now firmly established that Roden kits can be a little bit tricky at times. But I do like the, the rather impressive range of weird and diverse models they have. So hats off to them for that. But yeah, this has come out all right. And I think it's one of those things I think I mentioned before. If you wanted to really spend some time with this, because it's so detailed, especially at this scale, you could make an absolutely amazing kit out of this. But there you go. So I think this has come out quite well. A little homage to Cher-Ami and all the other animals that have served us so well over the years. And as a little bonus, in the back there we can see Fred and Charlie, who have sloped off for a cup of tea. But there you go. So yes, hopefully you all enjoyed this little video. As ever, I'd like to thank my top tier patrons, Howard, Amy, Chris and Hawaii Clive O, for their continued support. And I will see you all in the next video. Thanks very much for watching. Cheers. Bye.